All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, good morning, everyone. This is Mark Raymakers with Insurance Agency Marketing. Thank you so much for taking time here today on Friday morning to join us for our special webinar here, National Guardian Life, the Trust Products. And John Enting, who is a top producer with us, has introduced this product to us and has been gracious enough to take time out of his sales day to go through this and introduce this product to you. So, John, again, thank you as always for your time in helping us here.
Thank you, Mark, and good morning to everybody.
Yeah, so what we're going to do here is we'll record the webinar. We certainly appreciate everyone staying on through the whole thing. Gives you an opportunity to ask questions that are most pertinent to you and you know how to apply it to your business, etc. But again, this is recorded, so we will email this over to you once it's completed. It gives you a chance to review it, familiarize yourself with it. And there is a follow-up webinar that we will be hosting on the sales and handling of objections of this particular product. So for those that opt to contract, we will have a special presentation for you on that. And I will tell you that based on experience, for those that get contracted and attend this second webinar, they begin seeing sales as early as the week after the training. So it's a very productive, very effective tool for you. So with that said, let's go ahead and move into. I'm going to tell you a few things about what we here at Insurance Agency Marketing Services can and will do for you. Obviously, we're big on training. If you look at our webinar schedule, you'll notice there's webinars hosted every day of the week. And so with that said, we extend our training into an off-site. This is not at our office, but what we'll do in 2017 is host 3, if not 4 different training events. So what I'm going to do here real quick, I'm going to put a poll out there, and this is just gauging some interest in the process. If you mark yes, what this will do is this tells me that we need to send you out an invitation along with an application. But what we do is we have this 3-day event. You're out of the office from a Wednesday, Thursday, and then you're back home on a Friday. And we have speakers come from across the country. In fact, John is actually one of our presenters. And we talk about ways to help you to grow your life business and ways to help you grow your annuity business. Now, for some, it's also an opportunity to learn or maybe incorporate annuities or life into your business if you're not doing that now. The whole idea is to help you to grow your business. We have different topics we're talking about. We do talk about product, but this is not a product type of training. It's more about concepts and marketing and things like that. Of course, we will show you some products that would work best for some of the sales presentations that are done. But the long and short of it is this is all about helping you to grow your business. And so if you're interested in attending this event, just mark yes, and then we'll email you out the application. And the agenda is still being set as far as when we're going to be doing this, because it really depends on the timing, what's going on throughout the year. But generally, we'll do 3 of these. Now, here's the neat thing about it. IAMS will pay for your airfare, we pay for your meals, and we pay for your lodging. The only expense to you really is your time out of the office. But the most successful people I've heard from have said the best investment you can make is really in yourself. So this is an opportunity for you to grow your business by taking 3 days away from your office. And the nice thing about this is that what you learn in those 3 days, I can promise you right now, if you implement one of these ideas, you'll see an increase in your production, increase in your commissions going forward. So if you're interested, mark yes, and we're going to close the poll out here, so I encourage you to do that as quickly as possible so that we don't miss anybody. We want to make sure that you get that invitation out to you. Well, generally, as far as timing goes, so I'm sure there's a question about that, we'll do it early in the year, so probably maybe March, April time frame, and then we'll do one probably around July, August time frame, and then maybe one in September. So that's generally when we hold those. And so again, if you're interested, just go ahead and mark yes. And then if you change your mind throughout the webinar, just type in the word Academy in the question box, and we'll go ahead and get you an invitation. All right, again, this is all expense paid. So if you're not getting that kind of training today, it's certainly time to consider it. There's a lot of things going on, especially the big question in everyone's mind about the Department of Labor. So we'll address that as well and help you to be prepared for that moving into 2017. Okay, let's close it out. Let's move on. Obviously, time is money here, so let's. Whoa, what happened here? There we go. Okay. Hopefully y'all can see the new producer bonus I've got listed here. So what we do is once you get contracted with us, we provide a nice little producer bonus for you, and it comes in 3 different levels. Now, each one of these here, for example, if you look at 100,000, that would be like dollar for dollar in the trust products that John's going to tell us about, or annuities, or a single premium life. We have a different ratio that we use for traditional life, but for today's, we're going to look at dollar for dollar in the trust products. So if you write $100,000 in trust, what will happen is you have a choice between $750 in cash bonus in addition to your commission or to your subscription to website newsletter service. And speaking of that, if you don't have one of these, this is a great way for you to get yourself out there. I think it's important with today's market, today's educated consumer, that they're going to go online, they're going to look for you. And we can have this up and running for you in 1 business day. So whether you earn it, you could also buy it if you choose to. Just call and ask for Adam in our office. If you choose not to take either one of those 2, then you can get a free iPad. These are nice. More and more companies are going towards the iPad app, so you don't ever have to worry about having the correct forms or not. You can't make a mistake on those. You might just wait to get to the 300,000 level, where you could pick up the full Social Security program in 3,000-piece postcard mailing. This requires some study on your part, but it is a great way to get in front of more senior potential buyers. And those that have taken advantage of the program have seen a boost in their business. You could buy that program as well. You can call and ask for anyone in annuity marketing on that. Or you could choose 2,000 matching marketing money to promote your business in any way that you want. And then finally, there's a $1,500 gift card. Some of you might want to wait to get to the $500,000 level, where you'll have 2 different seminar coaching and mailing opportunities. One is with Matt Gill. That's a 5,000-piece mailing and coaching. The other is a 4,000-piece mailing and coaching with Dave Pimper. These 2 individuals will be at the training event, so you'll see how their seminar system works. Of course, you could buy those as well, but these 2 are very successful in what they do in the seminar world, so to speak. So great opportunity for you to get in front of more buyers and close more deals. Finally, if you opt not to take either one of those 2, you could do the Ritz-Carlton Travel Rewards, set up your own vacation. So some great new producer bonus incentives for you there, and would encourage you to keep that in mind when you submit your contract. Okay, another thing that we do, which is very beneficial, is what we can do on the creative services side. So from basic marketing to creating a brand or a logo for yourself, which we've helped some agents with that and have had some tremendous success just by doing that and getting their name out there, all the way to television advertisements. So if you're looking to do something like that, we can put something together for you. And be sure to ask for Adam again if you have any questions, or if you'd like to consider one of those options for yourself. Okay, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn that over to John. John, again, thank you so much. I know that you're busy. You're taking time out of your production here to help us with this. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the mic over to you.
All right, thanks, Mark, and good morning to everybody. First of all, before we move any further in the slides, I'd just like to tell everybody that's on the webinar today that I am a producer. I have an agency in just outside of Columbus, Ohio, and I am in the annuity business. We've been annuity producers since 1993, and we do a lot of seminar marketing as well to build our practice. And so when I talk about this product today, this is not all we do, but this is definitely a nice add-on product to be able to talk to your clients about. And as you'll see as we move through this, if you don't talk to them about it, somebody's going to. So you might as well do it and pick up the sale as you go along. So I always like to make that people aware that I'm not sitting in a home office somewhere. I'm actually out doing the work. So what we're going to cover today, we're going to talk about the opportunity that exists with this product. We'll talk about the trusts that are involved and used to make sure that we have the protection of the asset. We'll talk about the product that we use to actually fund that trust, and then we'll give you a couple presentation ideas, and we'll talk a little bit about the company itself, National Guardian Life, who offers this product. So let's talk a little bit about the opportunity. This was brought to me by a mentor of mine about, I'm going to say 12 or 13 years ago now. And at the time, I didn't know anything about it. I was much like many of you that are on the call. It was brand new to me. I didn't fully understand it. But the one thing I did understand is it had a fit in the marketplace that I was working in. And so I decided to really investigate it. And, when I first started talking to clients about it, it was, I talked to quite a few people, and I actually didn't sell any of the product. And then once I sold my first one, the floodgates kind of opened up. I don't know if my confidence level went up and the client could feel it, but once I did that, it went up, and it's been a very successful opportunity for us even to this point in time. The one thing we all know for sure is we're in the planning business. Whether you're selling annuities or you're in the Medicare side of the business, whatever it is you're doing, you're helping people plan. And it's not going to happen on its own. We have to give them the opportunity to understand what their options are. We have to show them what that plan looks like and how to put it into place. And then we've got to find the money to fund that plan. And we'll talk a little bit today how we make it real easy for the client to make that decision on where to get the money from to put into the plan. So moving forward here, when we talk about planning, funeral and final expenses aren't any different. Someone's going to need to determine the services and pay the bill when somebody passes away, but it really boils down to the question of who and when. So you can either help your client plan today, and they can have their affairs in order, and when they pass away, it'll be a really smooth transition for their survivors. Or you can be put in a position like I was put into back in 2011. My father passed away on January 21st of 2011. I'm the youngest of 5. My mom and dad divorced when I was 2 years old, so I knew my father. I wasn't super close with him. So we didn't talk about a lot of this stuff, obviously, but when he passed away, my siblings reached out to me because I've always been the businessman of the family. So I found myself sitting in a funeral director's office, and I was getting asked questions from a funeral director like, what was your dad's mother's maiden name? What was his favorite flower, his favorite hymn, his highest rank in the military? And these were all questions I didn't have the answers to. And it really dawned on me that what I do for my clients with this plan has a really great value because I take their children out of the process that I went through. And so NGL offers a couple different choices to solve the problem. The first one is what we call the pre-need side. This is going to be offered by the funeral home, where you go in and you pick your casket and do all that fun stuff that everybody looks forward to doing when they wake up in the morning. Or the final expense side, which is the side that we operate off of, which would be to pay for those anticipated expenses now, get some protection with your money, and have a plan in place so that your kids don't have to go through what I went through in helping getting my father through the funeral process. A lot of times we'll have clients ask us when we're going through this process, well, John, how much does a funeral cost? And the average adult funeral right now is over $14,000. I have noticed a bigger trend these days in people wanting to be cremated, but even when we're talking to a client about cremation, we're still picking up $5,000 per spouse into a plan. And when I show you what that looks like later to you as a revenue generator, you'll see why that's still a nice day at the office, even doing it for a cremation. But obviously the majority of the people we deal with, they're talking about a funeral, so we're able to pick up, quite a bit more money, usually around the $30,000 range for a married couple. And we will ask our clients, if something happened to you yesterday, how would your funeral be paid for today? Because that tells us where the money's at. So we all know there's a huge opportunity in the retirement marketplace, but the opportunity with this particular product is huge. They did a survey. 72% of the people thought it was a good idea to pre-plan. but 64% had not taken the steps to get it done. So your clients aren't any different. I'm sure the majority of you on here, we're all working in that senior market space. And again, I'm working with the same clients you are. I'm producing this product on a monthly basis, month in and month out. So I know it's a fit for what you're doing if you'll grasp hold of the concept and start talking to your clients about it. And we all know this market's huge. I mean, if you're in this business for the long term and you're working with retirees, I mean, the numbers warrant having something like this to offer to them in addition to what you currently might be doing in your current practice. And we'll talk about how it can be a benefit for not only the client, but also the bottom line for your business. And one of the big things we'll talk to our clients about when we're talking about this product is we'll tell them to consider this. 43% of all Americans that are older than 65 are going to need some type of nursing care. So 69% of all Americans older than 65 are going to need nursing care. And the national cost of that care is between $68,000 and $78,000 per year. Now, what's interesting to that, the people who need long-term care insurance or protection, they're going to have to qualify for Medicaid because statistics tell us that 93% of Americans don't have any type of long-term care protection at all. So basically what we're finding out in our business is it's really they don't understand what they're up against if they need to go into a long-term care stay, and our job is to walk them through what that looks like if they're single or if they're married, and show them how to protect some of that money now, because it is inevitable if they do not have long-term care insurance protection and they do need care at some point in the future, they're going to be forced to spend down their assets to try to qualify for a Medicaid program. So how does all this fit together? NGL uses a life insurance product, and then they combine it with a funeral trust. So we get that advantage of the financial protection with life insurance, and then we put it into an irrevocable funeral trust, which protects that money for the client, and it also allows them to set that money aside for their final expenses. So by using a trust to hold those funds, we're effectively spending down their assets, and this could help prevent them from being counted as excess money during Medicaid. Now, Mark, before you move on, I want to say something about this. I've struck up a relationship with an elder law attorney. His office is actually right next door to mine. I was looking for an office, and the one that was open was right next to his, so I went ahead and rented it, and I started building a relationship with him, and it's been about a year and a half now. But you know, he's an elder law attorney, and he's telling me, you're doing a good thing for your client here. As a matter of fact, he markets to people to be able to protect their assets from a nursing home. And I walked into my office yesterday, and he came next door and he said, hey, I wish you'd have been here. I had 3 new clients for you that I want them to do the funeral trust, because he understands it gets that money off the table immediately for them. So I'm letting you know that this is a program that works, and an elder law care attorney has verified that, what we already know, but it's nice to hear it from someone in his position. So let's talk a little bit about these irrevocable trusts, how they work, and what they do for your client. So what they're going to do is, when you use the irrevocable trust, they're going to give your client protection from creditors. The benefits that pay out of the trust are going to pay out income tax free. The funds are available immediately at death. We don't need a death certificate to get the funds paid to the funeral home. And more importantly, these trusts are free. So the client, there's no cost to them to have this program set up. Everyone's going to qualify for the trust assignment. Then what will happen is the death proceeds will be used for the funeral expenses, and they're going to avoid probate costs and delays. And here's really something that's important. these funds are totally portable. So I'm working with 2 clients right now. One I'm actually meeting with today after this webinar. They've lived in Ohio their whole life. They got an inheritance, a rather large sum. They've bought a property down in South Carolina, and it's a plat of land, and they're going down to do the plans on the house because they're moving. Well, the nice thing about this is this can be used now at any funeral home in the Carolinas. If they would have went and prepaid at a funeral home by contrast, and they would have moved, they could have some issues because they're kind of tied into the funeral home here in Ohio. So again, funds are totally portable, gives them a lot of flexibility and freedom. So the next slide I'd like to look at is how do the trusts compare against traditional savings instruments. You can just kind of take a look at this slide here, and it'll show you that every category that we're looking for a yes in, we have that with the irrevocable funeral trust, and it's the only asset on the ones we're comparing it against that gives you all the benefits of having your money in that funeral trust. So let's talk a little bit about how the trust actually works. It's really simple by nature. Basically what we're doing is we're telling the client that, hey, one thing's for sure in life is death and taxes. So today we're going to talk about death. And we're going to find out if they've prepaid their funeral or not. If they haven't, we ask them a question, where would you pay for that funeral from if you had to pay for it tomorrow? And we're going to listen for those answers because you're going to hear things like a client, the attorney just brought me, their daughter said, hey, they've got $17,000 in CDs at the bank that they've earmarked to use for their funeral. Well, if they're in a nursing home, that $17,000 is going to be spent down. What we're going to do is we're going to take it, we're going to put it into, we're going to take $15,000 of it, we're going to put it into a life policy. We're going to buy that life policy. Once it's issued, we're going to have the insurance company, National Guardian Life, assign it to the irrevocable funeral trust. Now, what I'm going to say to you on this is, remember, it's irrevocable. So when you're doing these plans for a client, any client I meet with, I tell them, hey, don't call me about the cash value. Don't call and say you need a loan or that you need to cash it in. This is only going to pay out when you die. You have basically locked these funds up for the rest of your life. And that's not a bad thing because I've never had a client call me and ask me any of those questions, and I've been doing these plans for 13 years. But what will happen is once the money's in there, the money will have a growth rate assigned to it. And so that money's going to sit in there, and that death benefit's going to grow, and it's all going to be growing tax deferred. And then when it pays out, it's going to pay out 100% tax free. What the process looks like, we've had clients who have passed away with it, so I can tell you from experience, our clients will call us or the survivor, and then we will get in contact with the funeral home they're using. We'll get a fax number from that funeral home. We'll call National Guardian Life, tell them we have a death claim. At that point, we give them the fax number, and we're out of the process. National Guardian Life and the funeral provider will work together, and within 48 hours, those funds are at the funeral home. No death certificate needed. It's money that's there when they need it. If we have funded it with $15,000, and so let's say the funeral was $14,000, those excess funds do get paid back to the estate. And the reason for that is we don't want this client to have any incidents of ownership of this money. That's what keeps it protected from the nursing home. Now, many of you are probably going to have some good questions for me. Just hold them till the end. Mark will put up a question thing, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. So there's 2 different trusts that are available through National Guardian Life. The first one that I'm talking about today is the Funeral Expense Trust. I'm in Ohio, so I'm going to talk about Ohio. We'll show you a screen with your state limits in there here in a minute. But in Ohio, we can put up to $15,000 per spouse into a funeral trust. And what this does, it gives the client the ability to exclude that asset from the Medicaid spend down. That's why the elder law attorney likes it. If he has someone who's going into a nursing home spend down situation rather quickly, he's going to come to me and say, hey, I know where we can get $30,000 off the table immediately. Let's do a couple of these funeral expense trusts for my clients. And then what will happen is the trust will pay those funeral costs, and again, the excess money will go back to the estate of the insured. But sometimes you run across clients where, they're healthy, they're younger, they're not looking like they're going to need any type of Medicaid or long-term care in the near future. And at that point, you can use what's called the estate planning trust. And this is where the dollars will add up, because you can put up to $100,000 per spouse into the estate planning trust. And after it's been in there for 5 years, it's 100% excluded from a Medicaid situation. So, example, I did for a couple teachers that are clients of mine. We funded it with $100,000 each. We're in year 3 right now of the plan. 2 more years from now, and they're healthy as can be, but 2 years from now, they know that they've got at least $200,000 plus the growth that's 100% protected in the event they go into a nursing home. And then if you just use the estate planning trust, the funds are used to pay the funeral expenses, but any excess funds you can name a beneficiary to. So they will actually pay out to a beneficiary. I have clients who will say to me, well, hey, we want to do the $100,000 each, but you know what? We've already prepaid our funeral down at the funeral home. Well, that's okay, because what will happen is all National Guardian Life Cares is that your funeral has been paid for before they release funds to a beneficiary. So we can just fax them a copy of the paid funeral bill, and all of the money in the estate planning trust can go to the family members. So it's a real nice tool. Again, we use it a lot in our planning, and clients who can understand the concept that they can't touch the money during the rest of their lifetime, they like the concept of protecting the asset. So a lot of times agents will ask me, well, when do I use which trust? We like the funeral expense trust for crisis planning. This can be written on somebody who's already in a nursing home. If you talk to an elder law attorney, the first thing they're going to tell you to do if you're in a nursing home situation is get your funeral prepaid, because we can get those assets off the table immediately. So maybe it's a crisis where they're in or getting ready to go in the near future. Maybe they're healthy, but they realize that in the next 5 years they could possibly be in that situation and that they would have to start trying to apply for Medicaid. It's great for that. And sometimes you'll have a client who just says, hey, you know what? I just want my funeral expenses paid for. I want to know the dollars are protected today, and I want to put this behind me. And it's good for that as well. Now, the estate planning trust, where we can pick up more money, Medicaid's a non-issue, like the teachers I worked for. They got plenty of money. They don't see in the near future that they're going to have to worry about going into a nursing home, but they do understand if they do, because the costs are so expensive, that you can go through $200,000-$400,000 pretty easily in a nursing home. I have a couple clients right now, a husband and a wife. I should say client. The husband died. They were both in the nursing home together at the same time, $19,000 a month. So it doesn't take long to run through your money at that. So the other use would be, sometimes you'll have people who just say, hey, I just want to make sure that I have this money and it'll go to my children or my grandchildren. I'm never going to use it during my lifetime, and I certainly don't want it to go to the nursing home. That's the real opportunity, because you can fund that with up to $100,000, where the funeral expense trust, you can only do 15. You can do a combination of the two. You could fund the funeral expense trust for $15,000 and put an additional $85,000 in the estate planning trust, but no more than $100,000 between the two. So we'll talk a little bit about the product that we actually use to fund the trust. It's basically a life insurance policy. It's called the NGL Asset Guard. It's a fixed rate product. We're going to use the funeral trust to protect the money. It's going to get an increasing death benefit due to the growth rate in there, and it's going to give them that secure financial protection for planning their expenses for a funeral. Now, I'm in Ohio, so everything I talk about, I'm going to talk about Ohio because that's where we do the majority of our business, but I know many of you are in other states, and this here will tell you what your state limit looks like. Now, I will tell you, when you get licensed with National Guardian Life, these numbers, as to my knowledge, are exact. But I would always call and just say, hey, I'm newly licensed. I'm in, Nevada. I see it's $15,000, or maybe I'm in North Dakota. It says 6,000. Is that still the number? Just to verify with them. So that tells you what your state limit looks like of what you can put into the funeral trust. The 100,000 you can do in the estate planning trust, no matter what state you are in. We move through that there, Mark. So here's all the expenses that are paid for by an irrevocable funeral trust. The reason I like to put these in there is if people go and prepay their funeral at a funeral home, the funeral home can only guarantee costs on things that that they can control the rise in costs. So in other words, obituary notices, they don't guarantee that. Death certificates. When I got in this business, death certificates in Ohio were $9 a certificate. They're about $30 now. So again, this is everything that's covered by the funeral trust, pretty much anything that you're going to need to take care of a funeral. So today we're going to focus on the single pay. That's what we do in my business. We don't do any multi-pays. Everything we do is a single pay. And the minimum face amount is $500. If we're doing the estate planning trust, the maximum face amount is $100,000. And then we're going to pick a growth rate to give the client. I'll show you how that works here in a little bit. But there's only one health question. So if you're working with somebody, you don't have to worry about are they going to get qualified or not. Everybody qualifies for the program. It's just going to determine whether you're a standard issue or a guaranteed issue. On a single pay, we can go from 0 to 99. So we can write any age from 0 to 99. And there's only one health question on the application. If your client answers no, they're a standard issue. If they answer yes, they're a guaranteed issue. They're still going to get the program no matter what their health is. The difference will be in what you get in commission. So on the asset guard, it increases daily with simple growth. So you get to pick a growth factor to offer your client. A lot of times the client doesn't even care what the growth factor is. They want to protect the money. They don't want to get it lost to a nursing home. So we're going to pick it, it's going to grow, and then that money's all going to pay out 100% tax-free at death. So other product features, this is to me is a bell and a whistle, but some agents do add it on. It's a child-grandchild rider. It'll pay up to $3,000 or the face amount, whichever is lower. So if you sold somebody a $1,000 plan, it would only pay $1,000. But they pay a $10 one-time fee at issue of the policy. It covers all their children and grandchildren, 6 months to 18 years, but it only pays one payment per rider. So if they got 6 grandkids, one of their grandchildren pass away, it'll pay for that grandchild up to $3,000 death benefit, and then the rider goes away. And it's a single pay only at this time, and you have to do it at the time of application. But here's what I love the most. I've been in the annuity business since 1993. When I started in the annuity business, it was 3 pieces of paper to do an application, and one of those pages was a receipt. If many of you are out there in the financial business helping people plan using annuities or managed money, whatever you're doing, we all know that right now those applications in some cases are 30 to 40 pages. So you'll love this plan. It's literally 2 pieces of paper and your state replacement form, and you're done. And literally, when I tell a client they're going to come in to meet with me to do the application, I tell them to plan a half hour because we won't be together any longer than that. So that gives me time to even visit with them before I write the app. This is what the application looks like. This is the top half of it. You can see it's very simple. It's their basic information, the amount of money we're going to give the company, and then their statement of health at the bottom of it. It's just a 1-question statement of health. The next page, or the bottom of that page, is where they're going to sign that they want to buy the policy. So that's still on one page of the application. Page 2 is a receipt. So if they write you a check for $15,000 or $30,000, whatever you're getting, you can give them a receipt that they can hang on to until you get them their contract. And then the next one's going to be the assignment form. The only thing that changes in the application process is if you're doing the funeral expense trust, that's one disclosure. If you're doing the estate planning trust, it's another disclosure. The big difference is in the amount that you can put into it and that you can name a beneficiary on the estate planning trust. So at the bottom of here, this is at the bottom of that application. Typically what happens is when National Guardian Life issues the life insurance policy, they wait 45 days before they transfer it into the irrevocable trust. But a lot of times we're in a planning situation where we need that money in that trust today, tomorrow, as soon as possible. And at the bottom there, we can elect to waive our right for the 45 days and have them put that policy into the trust immediately. This helps a lot of times when I'm working with the elder care attorney and he's in crisis mode with a client. We're trying to get money off the table. So the next page is that's it for the application. So you can see it's literally 2 pages in your state replacement form. So the other thing is when you send your application up to National Guardian Life, their turnaround process, if I were to send them an application today and they received it Monday and it was a cash with app, that commission is going to be in my checking account on Wednesday. So their submission to commission works very nicely to get paid. So when we're talking about presenting it to clients, I'm just going to give you a rough overview. I'll have a lot of people say to me, well, hey, agents will say, hey, do you have a lead program? And I'll tell them, no, we don't, but you do. Because if this is new to you and you haven't spoke with your clients about it, those are people that you've already sold to that trust you. And this is a good thing to do for them. So that's where I would start. Practice makes perfect. Go out and see your clients. Explain to them that this is a piece of the planning process that you haven't got complete for them, but it's something that's important and it has value, and you want to go through it with them. So that's what we encourage you to do: is talk to your clients first, and then you need to understand the plan. Obviously, stress the benefits of planning ahead. Tell them, hey, this can be used with any funeral home. Why lock yourself into one funeral home when this is portable to any plan? Because funeral homes can go out of business. They can have financial difficulties. They can change ownership, and some people just don't like the new owners of the funeral home. So there's a lot of reason that the portability is a very good factor. And here's something I'm going to stress to you today. You can 1035 exchange existing life insurance contracts into this. Why would we want to do that? Most of your clients don't understand if they own these old paid-up life insurance policies, where a lot of times if you look at their face amount versus their cash value, a lot of times the cash value is approaching what the face amount is. Just an example of a client we just did one with, that a face value of $13,500 and their cash value was $12,500. Well, we explained to them that when they die, the beneficiaries don't get both of those numbers. They're going to get the death benefit. So what we told them was, do you really want to risk your $12,500 going to a nursing home for a $13,500 death benefit, or would you rather 1035 exchange that $12,500 into this plan, get growth on the money, and know it's 100% protected to take care of your final expenses? If you do a 1035 exchange, you can fax that paperwork in directly to National Guardian Life, and they get busy immediately reaching out to the other company to get the money. So those old life insurance policies are a great place to find some funds to fund this plan. And then, of course, we can do a review, we can present everything, but if we don't close the sale, we don't help the client, we don't get paid. So what I would tell you is, tell those clients, hey, we're giving you that peace of mind and knowing that you've planned ahead and your funds are protected. Let's get this done so that you can put it behind you. So where do we find the money at? Geez, we find it everywhere. I told you the story about the elder law attorney that just brought me a case with the 17,000 in CDs, old life insurance policies. Sometimes it's just cash or money in a savings account. You'd be surprised if you ask somebody, if you died tomorrow, how are you going to pay for your funeral? And they will say to you, well, you know, we don't own life insurance, but we got, you know, money sitting in a CD or a savings account at the bank that our kids know is to be used for that. Well, why in the world would you leave it in there earning low to no interest and leaving it 100% open season for the nursing home when really all you want it for is to pay for your final expenses? Let's show them how to get that money into the funeral trust and get it protected. So the marketing brochures that they have at National Guardian Life, once you get licensed, you can actually customize these with your company's name and information on the back of them. The two that we use the most are the ones that are flanking the left and right of that Understanding Medicaid. So we're going to leave them that little estate planning trust brochure or the funeral expense trust. It's a trifold brochure. It's not uncommon for me to meet with the client who tells me that they want to think about it, and I'll tell them that I don't have a problem with them thinking about it, but I need them to read the brochure, and I'm going to call them the next day to get an appointment set with them. And before I can call them the next day, I've gotten phone calls in my office that say, hey, John, you know, we read through this. It's as simple as you said. Let's get an appointment. Let's get this done. So the brochures are very, very client-friendly. And there's a lot more than what they show here. Once you're on their website, they have a lot of great marketing materials to help you grow your business with this product. So National Guardian Life isn't new to the marketplace. They've been around over 100 years. They have very nice financials and ratings, as you can see here. I was always taught when I came into the life insurance business in 1987 that, you know, your money with an insurance company is good as the insurance company where your money's at. And I have a lot of confidence in this company because this is what they specialize in. So they do have a really nice agent-friendly website. This is what it looks like. You can go in there and pull reports on your production. You can pull your statement, for your commissions. Everything you could possibly need to make it easy to run your business. They've done that for you on there. And also they have a 1-800 number that's directed just for agents that if you're in a situation with a client and you just don't know the answer, call the 1-800 number. You're going to get a live person, and they know what they're talking about. They'll walk you down the road. So why sell the product? Again, every one of your clients need it, and a lot of them are thinking about it. That survey showed it. I will tell you that in all my years of offering this product of our clients, I've never had a client say to me, oh, yeah, you know, I had another guy talk to me about that. It's a niche product, so there's not a lot of competition when you're working with clients. Excellent income opportunity. I'll share that with you here in a minute. The trusts are free. The clients love that word free. Most people have two favorite words, free and whatever word comes right after it. So when you can do planning for them and it's at no cost, they love that. The funds are portable. Again, we're dealing with a great insurance company that's handling the funds. I've explained to you about the paperwork, and again, you're doing a good job for your client. You're giving them peace of mind that I wish I would have had when my father passed away. So the thing is, when we're in this business, if you don't sell it, someone else will. I don't care what you're talking about. If they have a need that needs filled, you want to be the one that's there in front of them that's talking to them about it, and this product will help you do that. Now, I'm a big believer in helping people and putting their needs first, but at the end of the day, I'm in business, and my business is to get paid after I've done a job for somebody. So I just show this here. If you just had a couple of couples that you work with, and you were able to implement this tool, and I'm showing it just at $10,000 on each. We normally are fully funding them at $15,000 each. But you're adding $40,000 to your annual bottom line, and that's just doing 10 months a year. I know with a lot of us that are in the annuity business and the Department of Labor regulations and how that's going to look, I know one thing for sure. I've been in this business long enough that change is inevitable, and you've always got to have different plans in place to be able to have revenue streams. and there's nothing wrong with having another leg on your marketing stool to create that revenue stream. So some of the biggest challenge, well, yeah, we'll talk here real quick. So let's take a look at the left-hand top corner box. You can see there, if you look at ages, we'll just talk about ages 61 to 70. If you were a standard issue, the commission on this product's 13.31% for someone 61 to 65. So if you picked up $30,000 in a house and you funded both a husband and wife, what are we talking about there? We're talking about $4,200, $4,300 in commission for helping the client out. There's nothing wrong with that. And if they're both not healthy and we have to take the 8.2% commission, which is the guaranteed issue, I'm okay on that too. That's still a $2,500 event of revenue for my business. So we'll do that all day long. So here's their sales conference. You know, if you're a real go-getter, you got a couple weeks, you can get out there and hustle, but probably you'll be looking forward to next year's sales conference. They always have really top-notch sales conferences at places like this. So we'll be introducing that here at the beginning of the year where they're going to go to next year. So a good opportunity to possibly make that for you. So some of the biggest challenges with this, it's like anything else, it's getting comfortable with the concept. I sold my first annuity in 1993 sitting in a dry cleaners in Marion, Ohio. I couldn't believe someone would give me a check made out to an insurance company for $25,000. I'd never seen a check that big in my life. And so what happens now today, it doesn't even faze me. You know, in the annuity business, we pick up $250,000, $300,000 at a time. But the reason for that is I'm comfortable with what I do, just like this product. You got to get comfortable with the concept and remember that your clients believe that pre-planning is a good idea. You just have to get comfortable and be able to convey that to them, and the way you do that is learning how to present it and stressing the benefits of pre-planning. And also keep it on the top of your mind every day, every client. You know, it's a real easy question. Have you prepaid your funeral? If they tell you no, you know you've got a nice little shot there of helping them get that done and getting compensated for it in the process. So if you get licensed with National Guardian Life, we make this a guide available. It's a guide that I developed years ago. It's called a Guide for Beneficiaries. You can actually put your own client or your own company information on it. But what it's good to do is to take it out to your clients, to go back through another detailed fact finder with them, because you're going to be shocked. Clients, you think you know everything they have, they don't always tell you everything. So just some of our successes when we implemented this beneficiary guide, we picked up about, and I'm quoting these numbers off the top of my head, but it was about $1.5 million in new annuity premium, a couple $100,000 in single premium life, and $100,000 to $150,000 in National Guardian Life. So it's a great tool to get back and revisit with assets that they currently have. And again, practice is going to make perfect. Obviously, the more you do anything, the better you're going to get at it. So this is what the Guide for Beneficiaries looks like. The reason I did this, as you can see there, it says, for help settling my estate, please call my advisor, and then ours says Inting Financial Services. But what's nice about this is you want the beneficiaries calling your office. You want to go out there and help them do death claims and settle accounts, because you're going to get an opportunity to work with all that money again, show them how maybe them doing their pre-planning for their National Guardian Life at that time is a great idea. It just opens up a plethora of opportunity for you to work with the existing money. This is what the organizer looks like. Again, IAMS will make all this available to you. But the one thing I really want to focus in on here is if we go to the next page. One more, Mark, if you would, for me. One more. There we go. Question 8, have you prepaid your funeral? So as we're going through all this and updating all their financial information, and we get to that question number 8 and they say no, we don't just start jumping on the bandwagon, but we're definitely going to broach that subject with them more in depth, and we're going to try to pick up those funds to fund that funeral. So that's just the rest of, yep, that's the rest of the organizer. You got the whole thing up there. That's brilliant. You can click on through there.
That's the end.
That it? Okay. Well, the one thing I will say to everybody before we take any questions is what we do with our clients is National Guardian Life has a glossy brochure, and it's basically a memorial guide where the clients can go in and fill out, you know, what their favorite flower is, what their favorite hymn is, what their mother's maiden name is, everything a funeral director would ask for. They're able to complete this and put their contract with it. If my dad would have had that done, it would have been a real simple process for me. So that being said, I'll go ahead, Mark. If you got any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
I do. And then you probably all noticed there is a poll up there now. If you want to get contracted, just click yes on that. And I'll email the documents that you need to go ahead and get set up. And just a reminder that next month we will have a special training on presentation and handling of objections. Okay, so Lynn asks, can they have more than one funeral trust?
They can, as long as it does not exceed the amount, and it's a good question because we'll have clients who take their minimum distribution that they don't need, and they'll receive that, pay the tax, and they'll say, hey, we can't do the whole $15,000 today, but over the next 3 years, we'd like to put $5,000 a year in there, and you can certainly do that. You'll just have 3 different contracts because they are single premium.
Okay, and then Lynn also says, can you have the $100,000 go in a period of time?
So that's a good question. Actually, you could if you set up a multi-pay, but when you look at the numbers, I think it warrants more to do a single. So again, you could stack them. You would just have, you know, one that was excluded in 5 years. If you did 3 years in a row, one that was excluded in 6, and then one that was excluded 5 years later. So you could stack them, yes.
Okay. And I think Sal came in late, but Sal asked, what's the cost for estate planning trust?
They are free with National Guardian Life.
Okay. And then Richard asked to get a copy of the slides. I'll tell you what, Richard, I'm going to email this recording to you so you'll have the entire presentation to review and take notes as you need to. And one thing, I think John mentioned that there is a presentation that's a PowerPoint that you can use as well in the presentation process, so I can make that available.
Yep.
And let's see, Richard asked for the estate planning trust, $100,000 maximum is per spouse, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And let's see, can you take an app electronically, do this over the phone?
Unfortunately, right now you can't with National Guardian Life. You can on their funeral home side, their pre-need, but you can't on our side. You got to do a paper app.
Okay, and then
they are working on it. I will tell you that.
Okay, so Richard, we just went through the commission. I hope you saw that. It's based on the percent that you credit the account. So when you get contracted, I'll email the commission schedule over to you so you can see that. Let's see. Okay. Would this be appropriate for a wealthy client who has assets and long-term care insurance and Medicaid spend down is not an issue?
Well, I think you could still do the pre-planning with the funeral trust, but I don't know what value the estate planning trust would have to you if you've got all the protections in place.
And I might add, one thing, Mike, we have, if this person's pretty much got all their bases covered and spend down doesn't look like it's going to be an issue, we've got some great single premium life policies that we could reposition and put it in a more tax favorable position for the beneficiary. So
True.
we could discuss that later. Let's see here. Is a financial organizer used as a presentation fact finder or post sale?
Uh, we're using that with existing clients or you with a new client that we bring on.
Okay. And let's see, how does this in any way dovetail with long-term care partnerships, which also protect portions of the assets spent out with new models of long-term care?
Well, and again, that would really be depending on the assets that they had, because under with the long-term care model, I know you get protection for as much as you have in long-term care benefit. But if they have over and above that, what it would protect, then that still might be an opportunity for you to show them how, hey, your partnership will protect up to this much, but you have X amount above that. Would you like to see how we could get that protected?
Okay. And let's see here. Is this available? Well, I think, Pam, what you're asking, is this available in all states? I'm not really sure what you're saying there, but I'm assuming that's right. Pretty much. There's a couple of states that it's not in, and we can certainly go through it one-on-one after the webinar. But New York is excluded, for example. And some of the states don't necessarily have the funeral trust, but they do have the estate planning trust approved. Okay. On the state map, there was an asterisk next to some of the states. Can you explain that? Melissa asks.
Yeah, that's the goods and services that they'll want you to get, and that's basically they want to make sure what you're funding it with is what a funeral would cost. So they have the information for you on that with National Guardian Life when you get licensed, and they can kind of talk you through that.
And then one other thing too I might add is that some of the states, you'll see where there's a number and then there's 15,000. It can depend on the county that you're in what the maximum allowable would be to put in the trust. And I know Illinois is one of those states.
And so is Pennsylvania.
Okay. Are there presentation materials for the client similar to the slides on the webinar this morning? Michael would like to know.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Those would be on the National Guardian Life site.
Okay. And let's see. Everybody who's attending will get a copy of this recording. So don't be concerned about being skipped out unless you've got something that would block the email that would come in. Let's see here. Do you have a direct mail program we can pay and use to generate leads? Tom would like to know.
Tom, we don't have that yet. We've tried to, I've put a lot of money in trying to create one that would really draw for it, and we just haven't found anything that really catches the attention of the general public.
Okay. And let's see, does NGL look at financial suitability for this?
They do not. However, you should, again, do what's suitable for the client.
Yep. Okay, so Roger asked, will a nursing home see this money as an asset that needs to be used, or is it invisible once it goes in?
Well, if you're using the funeral trust, it's excluded. So it doesn't matter. If you're using the estate planning trust, you've got to get through that 5-year window, and then it's excluded.
And Eddie just says, thanks for the great seminar. Do you have your 2-day training online? It is not online. It's actually an off-site event that you would come to. So unfortunately, it's not something that's recorded that is then made available online. Okay, is there, let's see. Lily asks, is the funeral trust funded only by single premium?
That's what we do, Lily. They do have different options where you can do different pay, models like 3-pay, 5-pay. But that's something you'll have to look at with National Guardian Life. We only do single pay.
Okay. John, well, wait a second here. Another one just popped in. Okay, so Roger asks, if you're a full-service senior market planner, this is another tool many won't have. This is another tool many won't have. That's correct.
Absolutely. Like I said, I've never ran across any competition in doing this.
Okay, and Ron asks, how often is a 2-day training conducted? We do that probably 3 times a year is what we've typically done. Sometimes we do 4. And then Addie says, if you attend the training, are we direct contracting? Can I contact? Okay, you see, that's more for me. If you attend the training, you have to be contracted with us. But you're still an independent producer. You're not captive. We don't captive contract anybody. And then with that said, you can also contract sub-producers. And so we can certainly accommodate you there. And if you want to visit more about that, Eddie, we can certainly talk offline, and we'll get you get a contract out there for whichever carrier you're looking for. And one thing I'll say real quick here is that if you get contracts National Guardian Life through our universal contract, however you want to refer to it as, once you complete that, you do not have to complete paperwork for 99% of the companies we do business with. All you need to do is call us or email me and say, hey, look, I'd like to add these carriers as well, and that's it. You're done. There's no additional paperwork. So it's very simple, and I would encourage you to get that done. That way you're set up for any additional carriers you want to add on in the future. Okay, and then the question is, how much interest accrues in the trust?
So on that, you can actually pick the growth rate that you want to offer to the client. I will just tell you here at my company, we give everybody 2% across the board. We feel that's a fair interest rate based on today's interest rate environment. But you know, you'll see in the commission schedule, you can offer them whatever interest rate that you would like. If you have somebody that's in a nursing home, and you know they're probably going to live a year or two. I mean, to be quite frank with you, getting 2% doesn't make a difference. It's about protecting the money. You could give them no interest and they'd be happy, just because they're getting the funds protected.
Okay. And then Roger's just asking a question: will this be covered in the 2-day training event? Yeah, well, we fly out on a Wednesday, so you're there Wednesday, Thursday, half a day on Friday, and then we fly back home. But we do cover this. John will be there. That's a nice thing, is he'll do this presentation there, but he'll be available for any kind of questions that you have. So that's a nice thing about that, is our presenters are there after their presentation to ask any questions and to provide you support. That's what this is all about. We want to get you set up, get you on the right path, and obviously increase your sales and your commissions. That's what our training event's about. Okay, Ron asks, will contract interest rates increase if market interest rates increase?
No, once you get into it, whatever rate you're locked in at, that's what you're going to get.
Okay. Okay, Roger. Well, all we got to do then is if you're interested in that event, then we'll just have to email you out the application agenda.
And Mark, before we conclude, let me say something on that. When you're doing this, you're not doing this to grow money. I mean, you want growth, don't get me wrong. I understand that. But especially in the funeral trust, you know, it's not about, hey, if interest rates go up, do we get more? It's about protecting the money, having some growth in there for the client, but really this is focusing around protecting money from being lost to a nursing home, because let's face it, if you make 5% on the money, but 4 years from now you got to give it all to the nursing home, what makes the difference what you made on it?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep. So Eddie asks, are you guys doing something, another carrier, to protect more funds? Should clients have a big funds, and do you take qualified funds?
So no qualified funds, and we just use National Guardian Life.
Yeah. The only other thing I would add would be that the client would go and set up an irrevocable trust, pay an attorney a pretty high fee.
$7,500 is the going rate in our area for that.
Yeah. So that's nice because these are free. Okay. And then I believe, I'm not a Medicaid expert by any means, but you know, the spouse can have $150,000, I think it is, John.
In Ohio, they can have about 120.
Okay.
You know, so if you had an estate where there was, basically how it works in Ohio, if you have an estate where they're married couple, let's say you have $300,000, $120,000 would be excluded for the stay-at-home spouse. The other $150 that was his half would have to be spent at the nursing home, plus the other 30 that would have been part of her half would have to be spent at the nursing home. So you're still, when that one person goes in, there's still a lot of money flying off the table. And if you're single, and this is what we tell our single clients, all bets are off at that point. You don't have any protections. You're going to start spending your money, selling your home, whatever it takes to pay your way through a nursing home without planning. Yep. If you haven't done anything.
Okay, so Roger says, is this a seminar topic or is it to legalese?
We talk. Actually, I put it on my. I hit on it at the seminar. My seminar is more putting rocks in people's shoes, and then on our intake that they fill out for the seminar for the appointment, we have it on there, and we do get clients that mark it, and I've sold a lot of it through my seminars.
Okay. Let's see here. Yes, Lynn, this is a recorded webinar. You'll get a copy of it when we're done here. Ron, I'm not sure what your question is. Something about filial laws and rules. I don't know what you're referring to there. Okay. Okay, well, John, looks like the question box is empty. So
Alrighty.
Appreciate your time here this morning. We will get this recording over to you here hopefully by the end of the day. We need to set it up on YouTube, it'll come as a link to you. And for those of you that had requested contracting, I'll email that over to you today as well. Of course, if you have any questions, you can call our office, which is 800-255-5055. And anyone in Life Marketing can help you with that. So thanks again for attending, John. Thank you so much for your time here today.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll be in touch with you all. Have yourself a great weekend.